Good morning, guys. Thank you for watching behind the scenes of Today with Pastor Jay. My wonderful guests are Bobby and Kaya Michael. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. It's Kaya, right?
Kiyan.
Oh, I knew I was going to mess it up. You know, I've been calling you Kiyan all this time until today. Kiyan. I'm not going to mess that up. I'm not going to mess it up. Bobby, I got you all the way live, so we good to go.
How's everybody doing?
We're doing good. All right, so I'm going to take 2 breaks. So you'll see me doing one of these numbers or whatever. So get to your last thought, or I'll get to my last thought again. I want to thank you guys for joining me today, because I do realize that this is, no matter how much time goes by, this is still real, and it's a daily struggle for both of you. So I just want to, again, offer my condolences. I'll do that when we start recording. I'll do that as well. But I want you to see how sincere I am. So thank you for sharing your story. And I pray that this will help others to heal in the grieving process if they've ever lost a loved one, and also to make some changes in the laws and the way things are. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go in, and I'll do the introductions, and then I'll introduce you guys. All right. I'm ready, Mark.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Geraldine Denny.
Good morning. Good morning. Wake up and good morning. It is a good and great day to be alive. It's a great day to love God. It's a great day to meet and talk to new people. Well, I'm going to tell you, I've got 2 guests that, they've touched my heart. They're amazing people. They've gone through a horrible tragedy. And we're going to talk about a hot topic that's been going around our nation, a hot topic. And for them, this right now is just part of who they are. An unfortunate event became part of their life and part of who they are. And I'm talking about Bobby and Kiyan Michael. They're not in the studio, but they are there, and they are, they call you angel parents. Let's talk about what an angel parent is, because some people may not be familiar with that term. And again, thank you so much for joining me on Today with Pastor Jay. I do not, anyone that has ever suffered the loss of a child can understand what you're going through, and that's a horrible thing. So my condolences to you. No matter how much time passes by, it's still a sensitive issue. So thank you for even being on my radio show and sharing your story with me. So I want to open it up, and you guys just, what is an angel parent? Tell me what that is.
Well, thank you so much for having us, Pastor Jay. I hope you can hear us okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you for all the behind the scenes that are making it happen. We don't want to ignore or not acknowledge them, because we know it's behind the scenes and the unseen that make a huge difference and make things happen. For angel parent, we were deemed that name by President Trump. And he was actually the only president that acknowledged families that have lost loved ones to illegal immigration and the crime of illegal immigration. Because once again, we have to remember that the crime is first committed when they legally come into our nation, because we have legal access. So it wasn't President Trump came into office that he acknowledged family, angel family. He gave us a name. He gave us a face. He recognized that this is a national security risk. He recognized that our children's stories deserve to be heard. And he was the only president that reached out to us. And so we're very honored for that. Just having that extra attention, just having even that brought to the front, because our goal has always been other parents from becoming angel parents.
All right, so let's talk about the unfortunate incident that led you to have this title. And this, I'm sure this isn't something you want anyone to have. Your son, Brandon, he was engaged to be married. And, you know, according to your website, you have a wonderful website, Brandon Randolph Michael Foundation. Let me mention that, .com. You have a foundation in your son's name. His life was cut short on the way to the bank. He was killed by an illegal immigrant. I mean, I read the story. I'm reading the story. His vehicle was flipped, causing him to die from the accident. An illegal immigrant. And it's my understanding he was deported previously, even prior to this, came back into America.
That's correct. He was deported twice previously.
Illegal immigrant was previously deported twice prior to killing your son.
Yes, yes.
Just a few short months prior to that, he was stopped by a police officer and received a fine. Now, I don't understand how anyone, to include an illegal immigrant, is given a fine and have left. I've known American citizens get stopped without a driver's license, without insurance. They take the tag off the car and haul them off to jail.
That's exactly right.
I know people it has happened to.
Mm-hmm.
This illegal immigrant guy just gets off and gets a fine. He comes back to this country a couple of times over, and now he kills your son. Now, the sad part is this, and I read this story, and I'm still in shock over it. And I know you've told it 1,000 times, and I'm not being insensitive, but this guy obviously was insensitive because he got out of his car and sat down on the side of the road and then claimed it wasn't me. What goes through your mind? Or what goes through your mind? And I know it's still unreal to this day.
It's very unreal. It's something that did not have to happen. It was very preventable because he should have never been in the country to begin with. And it's shocking, it's heartbreaking as parents because he left our home in one piece. He was healthy, full of life. I've been telling him, you need to eat some oatmeal because I'm a mom. That's what we do. And he's like, oh, Mom, I'll be all right. I'm just going to grab something out the vending machine at work. And here we've raised him to be self-sufficient. We've raised him to love the Lord, and he did with all his heart. He was a Dallas Cowboy fan, and I'm sure he still is. And to receive a call like that, it's just, you're never prepared for anything like that. And then when we find out he's actually gone, it's incredible. You go through a period of time of grief where you just cannot even believe this because he just left our home.
Now, this accident, how far was it away from your home?
It really was not that far. How many miles? A few miles. I mean, within 10 miles from our home. And he was doing everything right. He was minding his own business. And he actually had a co-worker in the car with him that rode with him, and they were going to go and have lunch after he cashed his check. And the light changed, and one thing that people have to realize that are advocating for them to have driver's licenses is they don't understand our language. They come from a different culture. We're talking about culture clashes. We're talking about cultures that are very different. And they cannot understand our language. So people who advocate for them to have driver's licenses, what they're in essence saying is it's okay for them to drive around, and they cannot even read our signs. They cannot read our traffic signs. And this illegal made a U-turn when he should not, went against his light and ran into our son, and it cost him his life. And then his co-worker that was in the car with him, he just finished counseling, and it's been 14 years, a couple of years ago, because of the trauma that he experienced. He was not hurt nearly as severely as Brandon. Brandon was fatally injured because Brandon took the brunt of the hit on his side. And the thought of our child laying there, and we're unable to help him, and what he must be.
Thankfully, he knew Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a bright spot for those who are believers and those who know the truth. But you talk about him laying there, the illegal immigrant got out of the car. It's my understanding. He got out of the car and just sat there and watched your son take his last breaths.
That's exactly right. He did. He got out of the car, and it forced the state to have to prove that he was behind the wheel. Nobody was in the
He claimed it wasn't him.
He claimed it was not him. He denied it the entire time. No one else was in the car with him. And it was a very busy intersection, but everybody's attention, of course, went to Brandon. So people were not really paying attention of what was around, what he was doing. They know somebody was in the car, but they weren't paying attention to him. So we had to go several months. We had to go to trial because, again, it forced the state to prove.
All of this, you had to go through a trial.
Yes. We had to go through a trial, and we had to go back to the scene of the crash, go on our local news station, and ask for witnesses that could have seen the crash to come forward.
Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. Okay, so we're going to come back in. We're going to pick up back at the scene. How you guys holding up? Michael, how you holding up?
You're doing good.
Michael, Mr. Michael, Bobby, how are you holding up?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking us.
Those that got two first names. You get that a lot, do you?
Yes.
Yeah, my husband's first name is St. Clair, and his people call him Denny because his last name is Denny. They can't go that whatever his name is St. Clair. But thank you guys. Those that are chiming in, that are watching, I have Bobby and Kiyan. I want to make sure. Is it Kiyan? I'm messing up your name. Am I messing your name?
It's Kiyan.
Kiyan. Do you know every time, yesterday when we spoke, I got your name perfect, right? Every time I get on the radio, I butcher people's name.
It's okay.
Kiyan. Hold on. Kiyan. Wait a minute. Tell me one more time. I'm going to get it. Kiyan. Okay. I'm going to write this out phonetically. Kiyan. Okay, I'm going to try it. Oh, sweet Jesus. I'm going to get her name right. All right, I'm ready. Welcome back to Today with Pastor Jay. And I have Bobby and Kiyan Michael here. They are angel parents. And we were just discussing the scene of the accident, also the trial that they had to endure after an illegal immigrant killed their child. Killed them, got out of the car, sat there and said, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. So the state had to prove that he was the driver. What was it like? Now, was this your first time going to the scene during the trial? Or when you got that phone call, did you go to the hospital or did you go to the scene of the crime?
It was our first time at the scene. It was very, very difficult. It was like, to know that you're there at the place that your child took his last breath, where he was suffering. And we, part of it's so many dynamics to the story. But one of the things that very few people have heard us say is that our sons work together. So we have an older son and a younger daughter. So our son was coming back from lunch saying, your brother's been in a bad wreck. And that's horrific that he had to hear that in that way. And fortunately, they normally go to lunch together, but that particular day, they did not go to lunch together. Their managers made them put them on different schedules that day. And I think it's very fortunate because that would have been more than he could handle. We really believe.
Absolutely agree.
And so we had to, when our son called us, and told us about it, we immediately went to the hospital, to the emergency room, and he was already gone.
About this illegal immigrant. What country was he from?
Mexico. He came through our southern border, the very border that is wide open right now.
Okay, so our border, don't even get me started on our borders, but let's start. The borders are just wide open. This is crazy. So this was back in 2007.
Correct.
So here we are thinking things should be better, but they're not any better. And this illegal immigrant was stopped, deported twice, then got stopped just a few months prior to killing your son, and received a fine, was not arrested, wasn't deported, anything, for driving without a license. Then he kills your son. You have to go and endure this trial. And this is the kicker for those that are listening. Go ahead and tell them, how much time did he get?
2 years.
Years. 2 years. 2 years. Took the life of an American citizen and only got 2 years. It's almost as though illegal immigrants have more rights than American citizens. That's what I'm feeling right now. Because I don't know any American citizen that would have gotten off from killing another American citizen and only got 2 years. How outraged does this make you?
You want to say something?
Yeah, it's very disappointing. I'm a veteran. I served 20 years in the United States Navy, and our responsibilities in the service was to protect our country. And I feel that our federal government let us down. Back in 2010, Congressman Ted Poe had our son's Brandon Randolph Michael story on the House floor. And during that time, he stated that we have a national crisis at our southern border. So when you fast forward today, we're back in 2021, 11 years after he stated that, our borders are wide open and the situation is worse. It used to be the state of Florida was not a border town, but now every state in the United States is considered a border town because our borders are wide open and our federal government is doing nothing about it.
So what kind of legislation would you like to see?
Well, I know for us, we've worked very hard and diligently with the greatest governor in America, in our nation.
Be the Governor DeSantis. I'm with you on that.
Yes, he is fabulous. We've been honored to be working with him on a lot of the legislation involving illegal immigration here in the state of Florida. And we were able to help push through the anti-sanctuary bill, which is awesome because that prevents local local communities and counties and throughout the state of Florida, little pockets, from having their own sanctuary, which is safety for illegals to be hid from any type of prosecution if they break the law. We're not talking about illegals who are here working to try and earn money, which most of the time they actually send the money back to their country to make their country great. We're talking about illegals who have actually committed a crime, and we had to develop the idea that we had to develop legislation to say you cannot be withheld from being accountable if you commit a crime. It's just unimaginable, because you and I and any other American, if we commit a crime, there's no place for us to go. We are going to.
Let's be real. We be under the jail.
Exactly. And
am I telling the truth? Come on. Now, had this been your black son,
that's right.
hitting it, let's just be real about it. Hitting anyone and killing them, he'd be under the jail.
That's exactly right. It is as if they have more rights than American citizens, and now we have an administration that embraces that has
looking to me like immigrants have more rights than any citizen, and absolutely have more rights than Black Americans, and we fight for our rights every day. This is crazy.
And we also work to push through the E-Verify, which simply means you have to prove that you are eligible to work in the state of Florida, because we all know, and this is something that Bobby and I have spent a lot of time traveling and just blowing the horn about, because we all know the ethnic group that will hurt the most will be Black Americans, because the jobs, we will be competing for the same jobs as the illegals. And to wake up our own culture, to say to wake up and look at what is going on, because without E-Verify, they are taking jobs away. And listen, we don't hate, we're believers, we love everyone.
Yes.
We know that everyone has a purpose, but we also know that lawlessness is godliness, and it's something we cannot allow. We also know that this is the United States of America, and we should have rights in our own nation. We should be able to get jobs. We should have the first dibs at jobs in our own nation. And so we worked with our governor, with our legislator, to help pass that through. And right now, we would like to see the borders closed, as the Supreme Court has ordered the Biden administration to reinstate Trump's border policy, because it was working. The border crossings were at an all-time low. Somehow walls do work when they are in place. And when the law says you have to follow this actual law, we would, number one, like to see the borders closed. We would like to see legislation that says, absolutely, you cannot vote unless you have an American ID. I mean, we have to have an ID to board.
I absolutely believe in that. You got to have an ID to cash a check. You need an ID to get a bank account. You need listen, you need an ID to get food stamps. Let's just be real.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So a lot
of stuff like that, you don't need an ID to vote. I just get all upset about that. Come on. You got to have ID to go to the doctor's office.
Absolutely.
To buy cigarettes.
Just simple things. And the fact that we are being, as a race of people, we are being politicized and used as pawns for this idea that they have of being one world and being a nation that just allows everyone in. Because the reality is, we know that countries are not sending over their best. They're not releasing their doctors. They're not releasing their lawyers. They're not releasing the ones that work hard. They're emptying out their jails, and they're coming right here. And so, as Bobby has said, every state is a border state, because they're being dispensed. Illegals are being dispensed all over our nation.
All right. Well, we've got to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You are listening to Today with Pastor Jay. Okay, good. I did good. I got 2 to 3. All right. So we're going to come back in, and then we'll do final talks, and I'll ask you, what can we do? Okay. What can we do to join this fight? So that, I've got to thank my sponsors and all that other kind of good stuff. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. I want to give a shout out and a thank you to 500bankruptcy.com, thefloridamortgagecenter.com, and tradecoaches.org. Thank you for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. So I've got to ask the Michael group here, what can we do? What can we do, Bobby and Kiyan? What can we do to get in this fight? How can we support your efforts and make sure we have better immigration laws?
Well, first of all, before we go to the polls to vote, we need to do our research and understand who it is we're voting for, because we have laws on the books to prevent illegals from coming to America illegally. There's a process. You don't just keep your doors open at your house and just allow anybody to come in. So we have to have law enforcement officials, immigration customs enforcement officers to enforce those laws that's on the books. And the people that we put in office in the federal government, we have to hold them accountable for not allowing our law enforcement officials to enforce these laws that's already on the books.
And it goes back to voting our values. We have to vote our values. It's no longer, we look at how demonized.
But we need some people to get some values first.
Absolutely.
That's a whole nother show.
Look,
that's a whole nother show. Go ahead. We got to vote our values.
we have to vote the values that we believe that Americans should be first in their own nation. We should vote our values that every life is sacred. If you talk to a parent that has lost a child, they will rise up and tell you if they had one other moment, if they just had a moment, they would do anything for that. But even outside of that, we have to know that the moment that that baby is conceived, there is life. And God came to give us life. And it's not our right to end that life, to just snuff out that breath. You know, all we heard for weeks and months on months is, I can't breathe. They pushed that whole entire narrative. That baby cannot breathe when that mother has decided to end this life. That the reality is, before we go to bed tonight, 11,000 babies, black mothers would have made the decision here in the U.S. that their black baby, their breath did not matter, their life did not matter, and will choose to end that life. And we have to do something about that. We have set up a foundation, Brandon Randolph Michael Foundation.com, and you're welcome to go to the foundation. You're welcome to donate to the foundation as well. We utilize those funds to travel and to sound the alarm and say, listen, this doesn't have to continue to happen. And we should be all over the Biden administration. We should be all over Kamala Harris. We should be all over Mayorkas, who is over Homeland Security. Do your job. Do what the Supreme Court has said and close our borders. We should be all over our legislators. What are you doing? We're going into session. Do we have the right people in place to make this a priority? Because these lives should not have to end like our son. It's tragic. We miss him every day. He had a future. He wanted children. He wanted to be married. We had to help his fiance through the entire process. And so we thank you for having us on. And our last thought is, listen, we know who our Redeemer is, and we have to stand up. No longer is it permissible or is it okay to be silent. No longer should we be hidden and should we be running, because we have been all pruned and we've been groomed for this time. We're here at this time and living at this time on purpose. God knew exactly when we would be on the scene, and it's not for us to cower down. We need strong conservative voices that will fight for America and will fight for this to stop.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And I'm going to see you soon. I'm going to invite you here to Flagler. I got a group you can talk to. Make sure you go to Brandon Randolph Michael Foundation.com to get involved. You know what I say, guy? Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not promised. What are you going to do today? Today, you're going to stand up and you're going to speak out and you're going to hold all of our legislators accountable and say, close the border. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. I'll call you later on today. We chat about this. And then this is going to air Sunday morning at 8 a.m. But what I'll do, I'll send you the, what do you call it? The MP3 version of it. That's going to air on the radio. That way you can have it. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.